Most people imagine aging as something that slowly closes life down. First, the energy disappears, then the curiosity, then the body begins to move more carefully, more cautiously, until eventually a person starts organizing their entire life around comfort and limitation. But every once in a while, you see someone who completely breaks that picture without even trying to. Bruce Hanson is 72, his wife is 70, and together, they move through life with the kind of energy most people expect to lose decades earlier. Not because they are obsessed with looking young, and not because they discovered some hidden anti-aging trick. What makes them different is much simpler than that. And honestly, that's what makes their story uncomfortable for so many people. Because when you look closely at how they live, you realize their youth isn't accidental. It's built. Quietly, repeatedly, day after day. The first thing people notice about Bruce is not his muscles or even his physique. It's the way he carries himself. There's no heaviness in his movements, no sense that his body is fighting against him. He moves like someone who still fully trusts his body, and that changes everything. Most people think strength training is about appearance. Bruce understands something deeper. Strength is independence. The older you get, the more important that becomes. Muscle is not just cosmetic tissue. It protects the joints, stabilizes the spine, supports balance, and keeps the metabolism alive. When people stop using their bodies, the body starts shutting systems down little by little. Energy drops first, then confidence, then movement itself becomes tiring. Bruce never allowed that process to become normal. His workouts are not extreme. In fact, they're surprisingly simple. Consistent resistance training, basic machine work, core exercises, controlled movements. Nothing flashy, but that simplicity is exactly why it works. He removed friction from the process. No chasing motivation, no complicated routines that collapse after 2 weeks. Training became part of his normal life, like eating breakfast or brushing his teeth. And over time, the body adapts to whatever life repeatedly asks of it. That idea becomes even more powerful when you look at his relationship with his wife. Because one of the biggest reasons people fail to maintain healthy habits has nothing to do with discipline. It's environment. Bruce doesn't live in constant negotiation with himself. He's surrounded by someone who shares the same rhythm of life. They train together, walk together, eat similarly, and naturally reinforce each other's habits without turning health into some exhausting project. That changes the psychology completely. When one person in a household tries to change while the other keeps pulling life back toward comfort, laziness, or unhealthy routines, progress becomes exhausting. But when two people move in the same direction, healthy behavior stops feeling like effort. It becomes normal. And that may be one of the most underestimated longevity advantages of all. You can actually see it in the way they approach movement outside the gym too. Bruce and his wife walk constantly, not as punishment, not to burn calories. Walking is simply woven into their lifestyle. Fresh air, sunlight, conversation, movement, all happening at the same time. Modern people often separate exercise from life itself. 1 hour at the gym, then 10 hours sitting. But the body doesn't really understand that system. It responds much better to regular movement throughout the day than occasional bursts of intensity followed by complete inactivity. Bruce seems to understand this intuitively. That's why he doesn't look like someone forcing himself to stay healthy. He looks like someone whose body is still participating fully in life. And honestly, that difference matters more than people think. The same philosophy shows up in the way they eat. There's no obsession, no rigid rules, no constant dieting, but there is awareness. At their age, food is no longer just entertainment. It directly affects recovery, inflammation, energy, and even mood. Bruce treats nutrition almost like fuel quality: fresh food, simple meals, fewer processed products. Not because it's trendy, but because the body becomes less forgiving over time. At 25, people can ignore poor sleep, stress, junk food, and inactivity for years before consequences appear. By 70, the body responds immediately. And that's what many younger people misunderstand. Aging is rarely one dramatic collapse. Usually it's accumulation, small decisions repeated for decades. Bruce and his wife simply accumulated different choices, but what makes their story especially interesting is that they never seem obsessed with youth itself. They're not desperately trying to stay young. In fact, they seem much more focused on staying capable. strong enough to move freely, healthy enough to enjoy life, energetic enough to remain engaged with the world around them. Ironically, that mindset may be exactly why they appear younger in the first place. Because desperation ages people too. Constant anxiety about getting older creates stress, tension, and burnout. Bruce approaches aging differently. He treats the body almost like a long-term partnership. Maintain it, challenge it, respect it, keep using it, and over time, the body responds. When people look at couples like Bruce and his wife, they often assume there must be some special genetic advantage involved. But genetics alone cannot create this level of vitality. Habits shape far more than people want to admit, especially the invisible habits repeated quietly over years when nobody is watching. That's the real lesson hidden inside their story. Youth is not preserved through one breakthrough moment. It's preserved through rhythm, through daily choices that either support life or slowly drain it away. And maybe the most fascinating part is this: nothing Bruce does is actually extreme. Most people could start doing some version of it today. Move more, build strength, walk often, create a healthier environment. Stop treating the body like something disposable. Simple ideas. But simple does not mean easy when repeated for 30 years. That's why people admire Bruce Hanson. Not because he found a secret shortcut, but because he proves something most people secretly hope is true: that aging is far more flexible than we were taught to believe. The real question is not whether someone can feel young at 72. The real question is, what kind of life are you building right now that your future body will eventually be forced to live inside of?